Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we take up MCQs based on important articles and news from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. Topics which we are going to cover today are displayed on your screen. Let's begin the discussion. This question, which is based on this article which appeared on page 9 in the Hindu newspaper. The context of this article is that the Cyberspace Administration of China, the country's cyberspace watchdog, is rolling out new regulations to be effective from January 10 to restrict the use of deep synthesis technology and curb disinformation. Now, UPSC has been asking questions based on various cyber threats. Like question on cyber threat came in 2018. Now here we have curated practice question based on the same. Now question says, which of the following best describes the term deepfakes sometimes seen in the news? Now before finding out the right answer, you should know that deep synthesis is defined as the use of technologies including deep learning and augmented reality to generate text, images, audio and video to create virtual scenes. Now, one of the most notorious applications of the technology is deepfakes, where synthetic media is used to swap the face or voice of one person for another. Now, deepfakes are getting harder to detect with the advancement of technology. It is used to produce various fake news and commit financial fraud among wrongdoings. So our correct answer is option D. Now let's see other given options also. Attackers access someone else's computer for mining cryptocurrency. This is the explanation of term cryptojacking. Next is a particular group is victimized by attacking websites which are frequently used by targeted group. This is definition of another important threat, that is watering hole attack. And the next option is attackers target system and flood them with traffic to exhaust their resources and bandwidth. This is the explanation of term denial of service attack. Now answer of this PYQ is option C, that is cyber attacks. Now our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 9 in the Indian Express. According to this article, Indian Navy commissioned its new vessel INS MORMUGAO recently. The ship is named after key port in Goa and commissioned on the day before the Goa Liberation Day celebration. Now, UPSC has been asking questions based on various technological advancement in defense sector. Like in 2016, they have asked question on INS Astradharani. So now let's come to the practice question. Here you have to find out the incorrect statements with reference to INS MORMUGAO. The first statement is, it is indigenously developed torpedo launch and recovery vessel which began its sea trials recently. Now, our first statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is a stealth guided missile destroyers built by Mazigao Dock Shipbuilders Limited, that is MDSL. It is the second ship to be commissioned under the Visakhapatnam class destroyers, also classified as the P-15 Bravo class. The first ship that was commissioned in this class was INS Visakhapatnam. Now let's come to the second statement. It is built by Mazigao Dock Shipbuilders Limited under the project code named 15A. Now, as these vessels are indeed built by Mazigao Dock Shipbuilders Limited, so this information is correct. But these are built under the project code named 15B and not 15A. The four ships of project 15B are to be named after four major cities around the country. The first is Visakhapatnam, then MORMUGAO, then Imphal, and the last one is Surat. So our second statement is also incorrect. So here our correct answer is C, both 1 and 2. Answer of this PYQ is option C. Now, our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 8 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about the 48th GST Council. The GST Council, chaired by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, recommended to decriminalize certain offences under Section 132 of the Central Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. Aspects of governance, transparency and accountability is important for your pre as well as for your mains examination. In 2017, UPSC has asked question about Prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act 1988. So let's come to the practice question. Here you have to identify the incorrect statements. The first statement is, every tax evader in India is penalized under the commercial tax laws. Now, every tax evader in India is not penalized under the commercial tax laws GST tax laws and income tax laws, along with Criminal Procedure Code and Indian Penal Code, also defines the penal provisions. So our first statement is incorrect as it is talking about every tax evader. Now let's come to the second statement. GST Council is the final authority to take decisions on the prosecution of a tax evader. Now, GST Council is the final authority to take decisions on the inclusion and exclusion of crime of a tax evader. But decision on prosecution is taken by the person above the rank of commissioner. So our second statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the third statement. Unregistered buyers cannot claim refunds under the GST tax laws. Now, unregistered buyers can claim a refund under the GST tax laws as per the recent recommendation of the GST Council. So, our third statement is also incorrect. So, here we have to identify the incorrect statement. So, our answer is option D, that is 1, 2 and 3. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now, our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 12 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about Odisha's Keonjhar district, which is India's highest recipient of funds under the District Mineral Foundation, that is DMF scheme, and has spent nearly 3,000 crore under the scheme over the past 7 years. But the district has only recently finalized who the real beneficiaries are. Now, important regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies is important for your prelims as well as mains examination. Question based on DMF already came in year 2016. So here we have covered other relevant aspects of District Mineral Foundation. So in this practice question, you have to identify the correct statements with respect to District Mineral Foundation. The first statement is, it is a non-statutory trust established for every Indian district affected by mining related operations. Now this statement is incorrect because it is a non-profit statutory trust in India, established by the state governments by notification for every Indian district affected by mining-related operations. They are established under the Mines and Minerals Amendment Act 2015. Now let's come to the second statement. DMF fund is a contribution from state governments to the district for priority sector lending. Now, this statement is incorrect because DMF fund is a contribution from the miners and mining companies and not by the state government towards the development, interest and benefit of persons and areas affected by mining related operations. The amount spent on priority areas like drinking water, education, infrastructure and health in mining affected areas. Now let's come to the third statement. DMF funds are treated as extra budgetary resources for the state plan. Now this statement is correct as they are treated as extra budgetary resources for the state plan. So our correct answer is option C, that is 3 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now, we have already discussed about INS MORMUGAO, but this article is also important as it talks about December 19, which is celebrated as Goa Liberation Day. The day is celebrated annually to mark the success of Operation Vijay, undertaken by the Indian Armed Forces to defeat Portuguese colonial forces and liberate Goa in 1961. Now, in 2018, the UPSC has asked a question based on chronological sequence. Therefore, it opens the door for similar questions in the future. As a result, we have created practice question based on chronology related to different state establishments. So from the given options, we'll start with statement 3 because due to death of Sri Ramallu in October 1953, the government of India was forced to create the first linguistic state known as Andhra state by separating the Telugu speaking areas from the Madras state. Then after the creation of Andhra state intensified the demand from other regions for creation of states on linguistic basis. This forced the government of India to appoint in December 1953 a 3-member state reorganization commission under the chairmanship of Fazal Ali to re-examine the whole question. Its other 2 members were K.M. Panikar and H.N. Kunzru. Then next, India acquired Goa, Daman and Diu from the Portuguese by means of a police action in 1961. They were constituted as a union territory by the 12th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962. Later, in 1987, Goa was conferred a statehood. Consequently, Daman and Diu was made a separate union territory. Then in 1974, Sikkim expressed its desire for greater association with India. Accordingly, the 35th Constitutional Amendment Act 1974 was enacted by the Parliament, conferring the Sikkim the status of an associate state of the Indian Union. This experiment, however, did not last long as it could not fully satisfy the aspirations of the people of Sikkim. In a referendum held in 1975, they voted for the abolition of the institution of Chogyal and Sikkim became an integral part of India. Consequently, 36th Constitutional Amendment Act 1975 was enacted to make Sikkim a full-fledged state of the Indian Union. So, from the above given option, the correct chronological order is option D, 3124. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now our last question is based on this article which appeared on page 12 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, at the ongoing COP15 Biodiversity Conference in Montreal, the country said that the developing nations bear most of the burden of implementing the targets for conservation and therefore require adequate funds and technology transfer for this purpose. India has also demanded setting up of a new fund for the same. Now, UPSC has already asked questions based on financial mechanism for biodiversity conversation. Like in 2015, they have asked question based on Green Climate Fund. So here we have curated question based on the same theme. Now, the first statement is Green Climate Fund was established in United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development or Rio +20 in the year 2012. Now, this statement is incorrect as at the COP16 in 2010, party established the Green Climate Fund and in 2011, it designated it as an operating entity of the financial mechanism. Now, let's come to the second statement. Green Climate Fund manages the Special Climate Change Fund, that is SCCF, and the Least Development Countries Fund. Now, this statement is incorrect as these two funds are managed by Green Environment Facility and not by Green Climate Fund. Also, Green Environment Facility has served as an operating entity of the financial mechanism since the UNFCCC Convention entry came into force in 1994. So, both the statements are incorrect. So our answer is option D, neither one nor two. Answer of this PYQ is option A. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates.